thinking about AI systems, utilizing AI systems, I think a lot about digital literacy. Now, the concept of literacy or AI literate has been around for quite some time, and to be honest, I find it quite misguided. A lot of it seems to think that everyone should take a programming class because if we all just knew the magic of Python programming and Jupyter notebooks, our lives would be infinitely improved. And actually, as somebody who has been programming for many decades, I don't actually think that's the case. So let's think about what it means for everybody to be digitally literate. Now, the best book written about this, remember I like using historical examples, the best book written about this was actually written in 2003. And it was written by a professor of literature. His name is Stuart Selber, and it's called Multiliteracies for a Digital Age. And he wrote this book for English majors to understand this new crazy thing called the internet. And how would they be literate in an era where they didn't handwrite their prose and instead used these computers and keyboards and did their research on this crazy, unreliable online internet that was completely unregulated. And his words actually hold quite true. So he divides people into three categories and the type of literacy that's needed. So functional literacy, critical literacy, and rhetorical literacy. If you are functionally literate, you are somebody who is just using this technology as a tool. So you are the average recipient of an app or somebody who's playing around with ChatGPT. And your job is to actually effectively employ it. So what does that mean specifically? So when you're using this technology, if you want to be literate in it, that means you're actually using it in your day-to-day, you're learning to build and use these tools, but also, importantly, how can you engage with the technology rather than as a result of the technology, right? Do you conceptually understand how it works and also are able to discern good and bad output? That makes me, again, think of the example of Mr. Petrov. The second is critical literacy. So this is, for example, if you are working at a government institution or a company that deploys or uses AI in some capacity. Your job is to actually interrogate whether or not the product is robust. Does it do what it is supposed to do? And the entire field of AI assurance has actually been big and quite growing because of that open question. So specifically, you need to be able to answer the question, how do I know if something goes wrong? Can I challenge the system? Where do I report any issues? And how can I get them fixed? And the last category is actually the smallest category of people, which are the builders. So these would be people working at frontier AI companies or specifically making these AI applications. And it's interesting because the closer you get to the technology, you notice the more philosophical or sociological these questions get. Because the kinds of questions you ask yourself when you're a builder is actually asking, how does my product interact with society? Where does the power lie in the system? And who does the system benefit and how? So I really think about this quite deeply as somebody who has been across many different industries. I think my introduction had sort of mentioned this. I built Accenture's practice in responsible AI. I led the machine learning ethics team at Twitter. And in the Biden administration, I was the first US AI science envoy.